Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey. Y'all back tuned in the Tanny G Diaries, and you know I got the tea and the story times today. This is about to be a part 2 of I threw all his I threw all my ex-boyfriend belongings in front of his job. This is part 2, but this is gonna get crazy. So, like I said in the last story time, if you didn't watch the last story time, make sure you go back and watch. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for the tea, because I'm about to give it all to y'all. I got so many different story times, even to the point I used to be crazy. Like, I used to chase my baby father down. I used to come out of work, this nigga was in my car. Like, that's going to be a couple of other story times, but let's get back into this one. So, in the last story time, I ended where I still had another one of his totes in my in the back of my car, in the trunk of my car. So he like, yeah, I'm at work. You better be grateful I didn't get fired and this X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, whatever. I was like, well, I got one more tote in my trunk. I'm going to bring it to your mother's house. He like, all right, just drop it off at mother's house. So I'm like, all right, cool. So me and his mother get along. I love her till this day. Like, me and him is cool at this point. But back then, I had to cut him off for a little minute. Like, we cool now. We get along now. But David was a mess. I got another story talking about his ass too. About recent, like this year recent. He tried to pull me into a threesome on a sneak tip, but that's gonna be another story time one other day. So, oh shit, my elbow ashy than a motherfucker. Ooh, excuse me, but it's okay. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe down below. So, I came and brought the stuff to the his mother house. I loved her. I sat there and had a little conversation with her or whatever. So I'm standing there pulling the stuff out the trunk. Tell me why this nigga came out of nowhere. Ran up on me. He ran up on me. So I jumped the hell in the car. In the car because it caught me so the fuck off guard, because he told me he was at work, so I didn't expect him to be at his mother's house, because that's where he had to go back to when I decided I didn't want to deal with him no more. What the hell is on my wall right there? Whatever. But I'm like, get a call, sped off. But my homegirl, the homegirl who I met him through or whatever, she didn't live that far from him or whatever. So I knew them since we was kids or whatever. And she had a younger brother that I used to, that's going to be another story time. We used to have a little fun here and there. Like, that was one of my little sneaky links or whatever. So I drove her off. Like, I'm calling Jameer phone. Like, where you at? She like, girl, I'm not home or whatever. Da-da-da-da. So I'm like, where's your brother? She was like, call his phone. So I called the brother phone. He was home. So I sped off. I didn't know where he went at, because I thought that he was chasing me because he had hit the corner, because she lived in like some townhouses. So it was like a split in between the townhouse. Like, it was like this one little strip right here, but it was a big little gap between there. Like, you can walk through there and come around the front if you coming from the store or whatever was in the area or whatever. So his ass came out the cut on me. So when he did that, I took off running. I called running and jumped in the car. She like, his mother like, man, what are you doing? Come down here and get this bin. So I'm thinking that he stopped and picked the bin up to take in the house. So I drive around the corner. I'm speeding around the corner to her. I'm calling Jaquan, like, oh, said a name. I'm going to bleep that name out. I'm going to get a brother a name. Tony. I'm going to give the brother a name, but I'm going to bleep out what I said his name the last time. I'm going to bleep out his name. So I'm calling Tony's phone, like, Tony, where you at? He like, I'm in the house or whatever. I'm like, I'm pulling up, come outside. So he pulled up, because I wanted to vent. Like, I really needed to vent. Like, he was my shoulder to cry on. You know how you had those that you talk to about anything that's cool. Like, you know it ain't gonna go nowhere, but you all had fun every now and again. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then we sitting outside talking. We sitting in the car talking. So out of nowhere, I happen to look in my rearview mirror. All I see is a little tiny person run past my. Let me rewind. This nigga is short. Like, he was really wasn't the type of guy that I would go for or whatever. But he was cool. He was down to earth, and we vibe good. So I'm like, you know what? Let me step outside my comfort zone, because I like me a little tall, dread or low cut with beard type of thing going on. Because I'm short. Like, I like tall guys. So my thing was, me and him was the same height. So I happened to be me and Tony sitting in the car talking. I'm running him down on what been going on. He like, yeah, that's crazy or whatever. He like, I told you stop dealing. I'm gonna tell y'all the nickname he used to call him, and my homegirl used to call him. I'm pretty sure if y'all know me and y'all knew of my relationship with him, y'all know they used to call him Midget Man. They used to call this man Midget Man. So I happened to glance up in my rear view mirror, and I'm seeing a little person run around the car. So I'm guessing that when I rolled off, he rolled through the split. Like, my thing is, it was 2 different sets of apartments. So he lived over here. And if you would, come out of his apartments, it would be a gas station, and a little bit further down, there's a whole bunch of other apartment complexes that wasn't the same, ran by the same people. So it was a nice little run for him to get over there. It was a nice little run for him to get over there. But me and Tony was sitting in the car and talking. Like, he wasn't even in my car that long. That's what the crazy part about it was. He wasn't even in my car that long. And I'm like, I'm looking up at the rearview mirror. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, Jaquan. Oh, I done said his damn name again. I'm like, Tony. I'm gonna have to bleep out his name. Like, I keep forgetting at this point. I'm just about to say fuck that. Because I'm just trying to give code names so people wouldn't be like, yo. Because people that know me, that watch my story times, will know exactly who I'm talking about, because I knew them since I was like 15. And I'm now 32. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh my gosh, Tony, he run around the car. He like, what? So he looking around like, he didn't even see him. He ran around the car so quick that by the time Tony got a chance to look back, he was in front of the car with the gun pointed at the car. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my God. He like, get the fuck out the car. Get the F out the car. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Tony, he's still screaming, getting out the car, but at this time, I'm tuning him out, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I done put this man in the middle of some shit he ain't had nothing to do with. I done threw this nigga stuff in front of his job. He almost got fired. Then I came to his mother's house and dropped his bin off. So now this nigga about to run me down. Like, he about to take my life. So I ain't even think about my motherfucking self during this time. Like, what I was thinking about was trying to get Tony out of the situation, because he didn't have nothing to do to it. And I'd have felt fucked up if he'd have really, shot him on the strength of me. And so I'm like, Tony, what I'm gonna do is, I know how you feel about me. I'm about to talk him down. So when I start talking him down, you slide out of the car. Because we were sitting in front of his house, in front of Tony's house, but we was across the street from his house on the opposite side. So I'm like, I'm gonna talk him down, and what you need to do is you need to slip out the car. So I'm like, oh my gosh, why are you doing all this? You crazy, you crazy, you crazy. I was like, what did I tell you about pulling out guns on me? Because this wasn't the first time he did that. So he like, no, get the F out the car. He all out of breath, trying to catch his breath. So that let me know that he took off running around here. And it was a nice little run, because he had to go through a couple of blocks. It was one like big intersection that he had to run through. Like, he ain't had a car. So he ran to Tony's house, because he knew that I was going around my homegirl house. He knew, because I always spent most of my time there. So It's not funny, but it's funny now that I can look back on it, but it wasn't funny in the situation because I was panicking because I was feeling bad because I'm like, I'm about to have this nigga in the middle of some, he ain't had nothing to do with. Nothing to do with. So, so I'm like, you doing this crazy shit again? I was like, this why I don't want to deal with you now. X, Y, and Z. Like, I was going off at him with the gun pointed at the window. I was hard. I don't know what came over me that day, but I had the balls that day. I had so many balls that day because I was walling him out through the window shit, and Tony just sitting there like, just get out, talk to the man. Just get out, talk to the man. So at this point, I open the car door like, you done lost your effing mind. So I'm trying to keep them distracted. So he in my face like, this is how you gonna do me. You know how I feel about you. So I'm letting him sweet talk me because I want him to not pay attention to the fact of Tony getting out the car. So Tony like, before I had opened the door, he like, I ain't getting in the middle of this. I'm like, don't even say nothing. Don't even go back and forth with him. I apologize for putting you in this situation, but just as I'm calming him down, just get out the car and just go in the house. Like, don't build no gung-ho stuff and try to argue with him because I know that's what he going to have to try to do with you when you get out the car. Just get out and walk off. So as I'm talking to him, I'm staring out the corner of my eye and Tony's slipping out the car. So Tony gets out the car. So I grabbed his face and put his attention to me so he wouldn't even see that he getting out the car. That he getting out the car. So I'm talking to him. I'm like, you acting a fool, doing all this crazy stuff for what? If you wouldn't have did what you did, did you ask the girl? Did you ask the girl? He like, no. So he called her while I was standing right there. And she was like, no, we ain't never do nothing, but I do want to go to VA again. We had a good ass time on the phone. So, but my thing was, I was mad because you lied to me. If you just be honest and tell me what's going on, I'll be more like, oh, okay, that's cool or whatever. Might be a little bit concerned about what's going on and want to know the tea when you come back. But if you would have told me the truth from the beginning, I'm not going to be like, no, you can't go. It depends. I will get an attitude sometimes, depending on what I wanted to do. I will get an attitude to get in my feelings sometimes. But this shit was crazy. So I talked him down or whatever. I grabbed his little face. He liked him when I got a little aggressive with him or whatever. So, I had put this little charm on him. I was like, put the gun away or whatever. So he tucked the gun and he gets in the passenger seat. I backs up and drives off. So we drove around his mother's house. We sat in the car and talked for a little while. Then I ended up in his mother's house with him. And we ended up back in a relationship again. Like, yes, I was a sucker. And it was crazy. Like, this nigga was literally standing in the front of the car and like this, get out the car, open the fucking door, get out the car with the gun pointed at both of us, me and Tony. So Tony called me the next day to make sure I was all right. He had my homegirl call me first though, because he didn't know what type of time he was going to be on. But yeah, this is part 2 to that story, but I should have made it a separate story time, but I decided to just add it on to, part 1 and part 2, because it was just like all that happened at one time, like in a span of 2 days. So yeah, if you like this video, comment down below. Subscribe. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below because the tea just tipped the iceberg right now. Can that make sense? I don't even care, but you know what I'm talking about. So make sure you stay tuned for the next story time and my crazy shenanigans and my crazy relationships with these guys throughout my 20s. Stay tuned. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Did you hear me first time? Like, comment, subscribe. And I'm out. See y'all later.